A long time ago, when the world was still young and the forests were thick with secrets, there was a creature known to be the wisest of all. It was none other than Kwaku Ananse, the clever spider. But Ananse was not just wise, he was also greedy. "Wisdom is power," he often said, stroking his chin, "and power should belong to me alone." Ananse did not want to share wisdom with anyone. He believed that if he was the only wise one, everyone else would depend on him. And so, over many years, he traveled far and wide, collecting every drop of wisdom he could find. He tricked the wise old turtle into giving up his knowledge. He outsmarted the great owl, who had wisdom about the stars. He even took the secrets of storytelling from the river spirits. Each time he took wisdom, he placed it inside a clay pot, keeping it all to himself. The pot grew heavier and heavier, but Ananse did not care. "Now," Ananse whispered one evening, patting the large pot, "I am the wisest of all. No one else shall have wisdom but me." But as he sat next to his glowing pot of wisdom, a new fear crept into his mind. What if someone steals my wisdom? He could not let that happen. He needed to hide it, somewhere no one would ever find it. Ananse thought long and hard. He paced back and forth, tapping one of his 8 legs on the ground. Then suddenly he smiled. "I will hide it at the top of the tallest tree in the forest. No one will ever reach it." He looked up at the mighty tree, its branches so high they touched the clouds. "Yes, this is the perfect place," he chuckled. And so, early the next morning, before the sun stretched its golden arms across the sky, Ananse prepared for his journey. He tied the clay pot tightly to his belly with a strong vine and scuttled toward the great tree. He took a deep breath, placed his first leg on the tree, and began to climb. But something was wrong. The heavy pot bumped against the tree trunk with every step, making it hard to move. Thump, thump, thump. Ananse gritted his teeth and tried again, but no matter how he twisted, turned or stretched his legs, the pot was in the way. This is harder than I thought," he muttered, struggling. He wriggled, twisted, and squirmed, but the pot kept knocking against the bark, nearly making him lose his balance. "Why is this so difficult?" Ananse grumbled, holding onto the tree tightly. But Ananse did not know that someone was watching. Hiding behind a nearby bush was Ntikuma, Ananse's young son. Ntikuma had been curious about his father's strange behavior. Why was he carrying that big pot? Where was he going so early in the morning? So he had followed him quietly through the trees. Now, as he watched his father struggle, he couldn't hold back a laugh. "Father!" he called out, stepping closer. Ananse froze. He had been so focused on climbing, he hadn't noticed his son. "Ntikuma, what are you doing here?" he snapped. "I was just watching," Ntikuma shrugged. "But father, you're doing it all wrong!" Ananse's 8 legs twitched. "What do you mean, boy?" Ntikuma grinned. "Why don't you tie the pot to your back instead of your belly? That way you can climb easily." Ananse blinked. He thought about it, and suddenly he realized something shocking. Why didn't I think of that? For the first time ever, Ananse felt foolish. He, the greatest trickster, the wisest of all creatures, had been outsmarted by a child. A wave of embarrassment rushed over him. In his anger, he stomped his feet. And oops, his grip on the tree loosened. The pot of wisdom slipped from his hands. "No!" Ananse cried as he watched it fall. Crash! The pot hit the ground and shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces. Suddenly, something magical happened. The wisdom spilled out and rose into the air like tiny golden fireflies. Whoosh! The wind picked up the tiny pieces and scattered them across the world. Some pieces fell into the rivers, giving the fish their deep knowledge of the water. Some pieces landed on the mountain tops, where wise old men and women would one day discover them. Some pieces floated into the villages, landing in the minds of curious children, kind elders, and clever traders. People ran to catch what they could. Some got a lot, some got a little, and some got just enough to get by. Ananse stared in horror. His precious wisdom was gone. He slumped down defeated, but after a moment he sighed and stroked his chin. "Well, at least I still have more wisdom than most," he muttered. But deep inside, he knew the truth. Now everyone had wisdom. That evening Ananse sat high in the tree, looking down at the villages below. He saw elders telling stories, children solving riddles, and people sharing their knowledge. The world was no longer silent. It was alive with wisdom. And that is how wisdom was spread to the world. Please like, subscribe, and share for more videos like this.